Okay, welcome everyone. This is the Community Preservation Committee meeting. It's December 15th. Meeting started at 7 p.m. Meeting is being held by Zoom and in public for those of us who felt or feel the need to attend the meeting by Zoom. So we do have some folks attending the meeting by Zoom and meeting members. Thank you. Some of our meeting members are here in person as well. We will open the meeting with public comment first. And is there anyone who has public comment?
I just wanted to come here and show myself. I was one of the applicants who applied for the Conservation Commission Coordinator position. And I watched the select board meeting on Monday, and I found out that the CPC needs a coordinator. I'd say that I'm also interested in that, so be one person.
Thank you. And your name is?
I'm sorry, Sabrina Fuller.
That's okay.
3rd Street.
Well, third.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Joe?
Hi,
Joe
Joe
Didi?
Didi, 258 Indian Hills Road, Southwick, Mass. Also on the select board. I'm here tonight for a few things. Just the town will have a few things coming in front of you folks. Probably sooner than later. We're waiting for some posts to come back on some stuff we're trying to do at Wally Park. And I'm sure we'll bring the project in front of you again. I will, and it's all good. I just do my job. And then, as she had just mentioned, the Cpc Coordinator. So we did post for the conservation position. We had a few applicants. I think that the town was looking for more along the lines of very specific what we're looking for. And then realizing you guys are looking, or might be looking for a CPC coordinator, we're hoping to get you in early January to discuss that and maybe taking some of that funding and morphing it with the conservation position and having a dual role for that individual, because then it probably would trigger benefits and more hours to that position, which will give you guys X amount of hours a week. Boss, what was her name that used to do that for you? Ruth Preston, right? Back in the day, right? Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm not here. So the theory was maybe we can have a discussion in January with conservation, and either all the CPC or a representative, you guys can kick it around tonight, and taking some of those funds that you have in that line item. We were thinking around probably, I think there's like 15 to 16,000 in that line item. We were thinking around 10-ish. That still left a cushion in there. Should you need it to do whatever else you would need to do with that position. And the 10,000 would then get stacked with the conservation monies we already have, and maybe entertain some other action. We don't really know, but you know, we merged the Park and Rec and the Senior Center operations over the summer, and I think it's working out well. I'm excited. We also took some positions away from Park and Rec when it comes to the maintenance of Wally Park and giving it to our new maintenance gentleman to oversee that. So we're excited that that hopefully really works out overall. So we're just looking at these two positions and the same guidelines, and maybe morphing it into one thing will help both.
But Joe, so yeah, Joe and I and Carl met last Thursday. And so we're looking to replace our coordinator, and it just seemed like a good fit. These two positions seem to have a lot of overlap.
Right.
So find two positions, these seem like two great positions to have.
Yeah.
And I think the timeline is hopefully we can get somebody on board maybe January.
I think we meet in early first week of January, whatever our next
3rd, I
meeting
think
is.
it was, yes.
And if we can figure that out, I do have, talking to Dean today, if you guys had a rough idea of what you were looking for. So I'll pass this on to Mr. Steinhardt to have him tweak it, look at it, see what his thoughts are, or add to it. And then hopefully I can send this back to Jeannie, and then if you guys are so inclined, we can get the next meeting. Oh, yeah, thank
think the most important things, I can't figure out who that, but is, when we had the gentleman requesting all of the files for, I can't remember, maybe like last year sometime.
Yeah, over the summer, I believe, or something like that.
Yes. And that created quite an issue because we were in the pandemic as well. And then we also had one person who had the numerous amounts of paperwork and go through it. And I think if there's someone that has that, you know, that can specifically have that as their job, they can do that. So
We figured it out.
I muted somebody, so I think who I thought it was. I'm sorry, folks.
Okay.
So it would be, I think that would be one of the most important things. And then once, when applications come in, making sure that they are, you know, they come in, they're prepared, they're, you know, make contact with applicants, those kind of things. So those are probably the two most important things, making sure deadlines are met and things like that, I think are the most important that we would like as a committee. Including myself, but. Okay. Is that it?
Oh, I got it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else for, public comment? There's one person I'm asking to unmute themselves. Or to mute themselves.
The town hall meeting.
It is muted. It is. Well, the person I muted is a board member, so I don't know. Beth? That's you. Hold on. There's background noise from me coming from you, and it's creating issues in the room.
I don't know what it is because I have nothing on. I'm sorry.
Okay. No,
Mute
that's
me.
okay.
Mute me and
No.
I'll just raise my hand if I have something to say.
All right, we'll let it go. Trial and error with this, trial and error. Okay. Okay, thank you. Anyone else for town, public comment? Okay. Thank you for, thank you. Is there anyone on Zoom that is attending the meeting that would like to make a public comment? If you could, raise your Zoom hand, please. Okay, nothing. Okay, moving on, we will go to a review of old business. We have two sets of meeting minutes that we just need to review. Potentially, if anyone has any issues with them or wants to comment on them. So the first one was the November 17th meeting. It was Zoom only. Unfortunately, the meeting was had to be terminated due to an issue with the meeting not being posted properly. So this is why you're only getting a small notation on it because it was brief after it was noted that our meeting wasn't posted. So is everyone okay with the minutes?
Yes.
Yes. So them.
Reminder, thing for me.
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out who it is, but.
I have a chance to.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that.
Thank you.
What if it's me? Should I mute, if I mute my audio, do I mute the whole entire hour?
I think it's.
We're connected to the owl.
I
I
am.
don't believe anybody will hear you.
Okay.
It used to be when, I used to have it at work, I don't have it anymore, but as the proctors say, you were able to go on and mute everybody.
Right.
And you can mute individuals as well.
Okay,
Don't ask me how it was done, but I know it can be done.
I'm trying. Well, everybody is right now.
Permitting yourself, I believe you said the, it would be a red.
Okay,
Yep, there you go.
all right. Okay, we're good then, all right. Okay, the next meeting minutes would be from October 27th. Does anyone have anything they would like to bring up about the minutes? Are they okay for approval?
Good to me.
Right?
Make a motion?
I would.
Make a motion to approve both agendas. I mean, not the agendas, the minutes.
Minute.
Okay,
Excuse me.
I'll second.
okay.
Do you want to send that one
Um, we'll have a roll call vote. Deb, how do you vote for approving the minutes?
I do.
Thank you. Beth Thomas, how do you vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Sandra Bach, how do you vote?
Approved, sorry, I was muted.
That's okay. John Wiley,
Yes.
Dave Spina,
Aye.
how do you vote? Dave McWilliams?
Yes.
Okay. Brian Walker?
Yes.
Myself, Jeannie Reed, vote yes. All in favor? Minutes approved. Okay, we'll move on to, excuse me, our next topic would be the Brass Rail project, which has previously submitted an application for CPC funds. The application was submitted on October 27th, during which time there were some questions. We tabled the application to allow folks to review, and also if they wanted to go to the site to look at what was being done on the actual site. Is there anyone who wants to discuss anything, talk about anything further with the application process? We also have Jen, who is here, who is the applicant as well.
You have any new material, Jen?
I have some more pictures if you'd like to see them.
Well, I went there and saw the whole thing.
Does anyone else want to see pictures?
No, I went around back too one day
Okay.
and took a look at where you were proposing to do everything. I mean, it looks like a pretty straightforward project,
Mhm.
you know? I mean, I guess my question is, what is your timeframe on that?
All studies that we can start, like day like today, we're gonna do it tomorrow, but probably in the spring.
Yeah.
I've got a question. Has this
Hi,
been
Beth.
deemed an historical landmark by the town or by the state?
You have, you should have it in your
Yeah.
packet, the actual,
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna answer for Jen, but yes, and she is saying yes, and what I will tell you is that in the application packet that we originally had received, there was a printout that came from the state. So I could probably email it to you again. But it does indicate that it is a historical, it is on the historical website for the state. Circa 1940 was when the building was probably built. That's as far back as they could go with information on it. So there was 3 sheets. It explained when the building was probably built, what material was used, the roof. There's a couple of pictures. And then it just gives like information on the type of material that was on the building.
What was the
Okay, that's
amount?
great. That answers my question.
Okay.
What was the amount?
The amount on the proposal from Rock Solid Stoneworks was 28,000, which I can pass around to you guys if you want to see that again, that you
I've
have
seen
it
it
sitting
before, I
in
just
front of
forgot the
you.
number.
Yep,
Good. I don't think.
sure. So this was all stuff that we had received originally in our original email, but it has been a few months since then. I did, Deb, to go back with your, with a question you had. I'm thinking if, I did ask the state moderator this question in regards to if it's on the historical commission for the state, does it still have to go in front of the town historical commission? And I was waiting for a response from him.
I could answer that.
Okay, go ahead.
The form that you have was submitted by the town of Southwick Historical Commission years ago. So the answer is it went from local to
Okay.
the state.
Great,
Should have.
What do you think of the project?
yes.
I have not seen any photos, prints, plans. Nothing has been presented to the historical commission. So I do not know what the project even entails.
Could you, excuse me, I think a lot of people in the room know who you are. If you could just identify yourself, please.
Lee Hamber, 48 South Long Yard Road.
Thank you. So I'm not ignoring people. I'm just getting a text from the gentleman from the commission, the state commission.
Is this simply for just construction, right? I mean, it's not, no aesthetics, it's not plants or any of that. This is just.
so
for-
no, it's not for plans or anything. So I went ahead and did basically a temporary handicap ramp just to get the CO for down there.
Yeah.
Now what I want to do in the spring is make it, a little more solid and sturdy. If you went down there, you'll see just that one little ramp that goes.
I saw it, yeah.
That was just to code, that was just getting by to get the permit. So now I want to actually make it look a little nicer.
Are you asking the applicant go in front of the historical commission in town to present?
It would be possible to do that. Every other historic funded project before this, to the best of my knowledge, has either been initiated with, through, or at least presented to the historical commission before it got to CPC. And this is really the first time that has not happened. So I'm blind as to what is happening.
So just for my education, and maybe others, Lee, so does the historical commission have any authority to stop a project from happening? Is there,
The historical commission does not have the ability to stop any project that is presented to the CPC.
okay,
Our representative is Cassandra Bach,
Yep.
and she can vote as, she thinks most appropriate in this issue or any
Mhm.
other as our representative. But, primarily it's courtesy, and it also allows us, if there are any issues, to suggest ways of modifying the project so that it is, more compatible. The other point, which is interesting here, is that every other project that has been funded by CPC funds has been for, repairing, replacing, preserving specific historic items, like the windows, roof, fence. And this is a little bit different in that there's nothing historic about a handicap ramp.
Well, that was also true when we did the stage.
for the town hall?
Yeah, the same thing.
The same.
But I would make a motion to postpone it since Jen's not gonna do it to the spring anyway. And, you wanna get together with Lee and, or with the
Absolutely.
commission, actually, not just Lee.
I think that would be the appropriate thing. And I apologize for the backtracking of all of this, but it was brought to my attention and then, I mean, so we're kind of like, went forward, now we're going back. So it's not to have you go to another meeting, but I think that would be the proper thing, would be to present it to the historical commission.
100%.
And then we have everything anyway, but just for the sake of, doing it the proper way, I think that would be
No point in
beneficial.
setting precedent.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I think it's a good project, but I think we should,
Yeah.
be courteous to the historic.
Yeah, it does
Yes.
say here that an allowable use of funds is to comply with federal, state, or local building code or access codes. So
Correct.
Right.
And that's where,
all
yes,
right there.
yeah. And I think that's just needs to be just ironed out and, yeah, I agree.
And in the interest of efficiency, and I might have just missed it, did we get the CPC selection questionnaire with the application? This is an example of another one.
We,
Just want to make, I don't want to have you come back a
I
month
think-
from now and
well,
find out. Which we
I
don't
think
have
what
anything.
happened was, what we did. Yes, well, what happened was is the questions were answered in this kind of format.
Okay, all right.
So yes, we
I
did.
got it. All right.
Yep. So they were answered in this format. And I'll probably can forward it back to everybody just so that we all have the same stuff.
Thank you.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
thanks.
So application, yes, and then this was the kind of the checklist and then, Jen answered them on a separate sheet of paper.
I will second John's motion.
All right, so we will, vote on, postponing the application, process until a future date. At the request of the board. We'll take a vote on this. Deb, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, Beth, how do you vote? Yes.
Yes, sorry.
That's okay. Cassandra Bach, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, John Wally,
Yes.
Dave Spina,
Aye.
okay,
Aye.
thank you.
Yes.
And myself, Jeannie Waldron, yes, the vote is unanimous to postpone the review of the application at a future date. Could you tell us when the historical commission is meeting again?
Monday, January 3rd, 7 PM, room 101. right off of the main lobby. Be very glad to speak to you afterwards.
Absolutely.
All right.
I would suggest that, one or more of your, members go over and check the project out. You're doing a nice job in there. He's done a lot of ramps inside. He's not asking money for it.
Anything else on that application? Okay. We're all done with that. Thank you for coming. Okay, moving on to elections, appointments, chairperson. Do we have any updates, anything we want to discuss at this time regarding that?
Right now, we have you as the vice chair acting as the chair.
Yeah,
Correct?
yeah.
How's that working out?
It's being recorded. It's okay. I unfortunately got thrown into this position, not saying that I didn't want it, but it's kind of nice to be on the commission and be a member and then not have things thrown at you and have to really do a lot of work to.
Sure does.
However, it's getting better.
Well, I'd like to nominate you for chairman instead of just acting.
Well, that's
I second that.
okay. All right. So we would, John Wally, entertain a motion to nominate myself, Jeannie Reed, as the chairwoman of the CPC committee,
And Brian seconded.
and Brian Walker second that, and we will take a vote. Deb?
Yes.
Rath, how do you vote? Okay. Ms. Thomas, how do you vote?
Yes.
Sandra Buck, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ready? John
Yes.
Moore, thank you.
Aye.
Dave, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
No, you can refuse it.
I will.
You understand that, right?
I can refuse it, but
Okay.
I'm into this a little deep now, so,
Okay, good.
I'm not gonna, thank you. I'm getting better. It's a lot of research and a lot of reading and a lot of learning things.
Yeah.
So, but I think as a committee, we will.
Now we have to find a
get
vice
some things.
chair.
Yes, okay,
Since you left that chair.
I did. Does anyone, want to volunteer their self as a,
Does anyone want to volunteer?
chair.
Can we bully you into it?
like you did me?
Yes.
What does the job entail?
Well, up until,
Sounds like I'm gonna nominate Brian.
unless I get kicked off of this, up until then, really, it was just, I mean, just probably, if I can't make a meeting, you would run a meeting, kind of just fill in when needed, on an as-needed basis, I would think.
Unless somebody else wants to do it, I wouldn't have a problem.
I will nominate Brian.
I know, you nominate, I'll second.
Oh,
All right.
okay.
Seniority.
Okay, so we have a nomination for Brian Walker to be vice chairman of the CPC. John Wally nominated, Mr. McWilliams, second the motion to nominate him. We'll have a roll call vote. Deb Rath had,
Absolutely.
okay, thank you. Beth Thomas.
I wanted to second.
Third.
All right, Cassandra Buck, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. John Wally?
Yes.
Stacy?
Aye.
Okay. Smith Williams, thank you.
So I guess we do you.
And Jamie Reed, I vote yes. Okay, so it's unanimous. Brian Walker is our new vice chair. Great.
And everyone is learning not to ask what it's about.
You'll find out
Ray,
soon
so.
enough.
Yeah,
Okay, so we have that done. All right. Anything else with that, you guys? We can move on to any other old business. Was there anything that we had?
So, yeah, I'll bring up something.
Yes,
The last meeting that I was on, we had that conversation about the coordinator position,
we did. Yep.
right? So I'm going to assume that would be considered old business, right?
Mhm.
And it sounds like there's some acceptance from the select board to kind of move forward with this. I believe it's incumbent upon us to put together the scope of the job, right? And
It
the
is.
need of the hours. So I got a copy of what I believe most of you have probably gotten a copy from Chris Pratt of what he put together,
Yeah.
right? So I would recommend that we look at that and make a determination if there's anything missing that needs to be added to that, or if there's anything on there that needs to be omitted. We just want to make sure that it flies by the people that have to rubber stamp that thing and that it's kind of buttoned up. Because I think part of that too is going to wind up on the posting for the position. Because even though conservation, and just so everybody knows, I'm newly elected chairman of the Conservation Commission as well, right? The position that was posted for conservation, once we add this to it, it becomes a whole new job and it has to get reposted again. So that's going to wind up on the application. Or not on the application, on the job requirements.
So, and to piggyback on what you're saying, we're looking for a January person, so we need to do that sooner than
Yeah, well,
later.
so there's a couple of things that have to happen. It has to go through the select board. They have to
Right.
agree to have the position.
Mhm.
They're looking for someone from conservation and now someone from this group to meet with them at the January 3rd meeting to discuss the position with the select board. And I expect they're gonna have somebody from finance, the finance committee at that meeting as well. So we need to make sure that we all understand what the job is, what it entails. I know from a conservation standpoint what we're gonna need, but I don't have the familiarity with the CPC other than what Chris showed me.
Mhm.
And so we need to make sure that whoever's gonna represent this group there understands what that job is as well.
Okay. And I think that therein lies what I said about when the paperwork needed to be all photocopied and gone through. That was quite a tedious thing that required, and it had to happen because it was the person's right to be able to request all of that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it was at a really inopportune time because of COVID. And
Sure.
we were pretty much locked down at the time. And then it was like, well, who's going to do it? And people are like, well, how are we going to do it? So that was a good example. And again, I think the applications, making sure that they are in timely, reviewed properly, that kind of stuff, I think is probably the most important.
Yeah.
And then reviewing, with all the money that we're getting or that we have and how it's earmarked, making sure that it's, we stay on top of that and it's used properly and we make sure we have accountability for every
Right.
penny that we.
So when we put together the job description for conservation, one of the things that I was adamant about is making sure there's a continuing education part of it, right?
Mhm.
That the person that gets into that position stays current. And there's mechanisms for conservation to stay current. There's trainings that happen
Mhm.
either online or in
Mhm.
person throughout the state. I don't know as though there's anything from a CPC perspective where there's ongoing education, but I would add that that has to be part of their job is to attend, go to, study up, keep current with what's changing from a state level.
From time to time, they do have meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. And I just attended they called it a CPA boot camp. So basically it was an overview of what the state, how the state does the funding, why, and it broke down like all the 4 categories of where
Yeah.
funding can go to and stuff like that. And they had mentioned in the training, actually, I think they said that they do it once a year.
Good.
So that would be something. The website where I got this information from is huge. There's so much there to read and to look at and then check, next thing you know, you're like 4 pages into, clicking on the next thing. So I would think, and there's lots of announcements that get announced through that website, through the CPA website, which is for the state.
Good.
So I think that would be something that, as a board, we could too, but we also have a lot of things going on, life, jobs, other boards too, but it wouldn't hurt to go in and, you know,
Agreed.
check that stuff out, but yes, that would be
Jeannie?
something. Yes,
Could you email that website, that web address, please?
yes, sure, I can.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And also the people that run the CPA for the state are very, very knowledgeable and very open to, you can call them, you can email them, you can ask questions. So that would be good to have a good working relationship with those folks in this, through the state.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you.
Sure. I think the biggest thing would be to be able to figure out, we obviously have a dollar amount, so we would have to probably figure out how many hours we would want someone to.
That's
You
the other
know,
thing
we-
they have to, keep in mind when you come up with this position, is that amount fluctuates from year to year.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
5% of whatever we get, but we
Right.
never know what we're gonna get.
Right.
I don't see taxes going down. Right?
No. I mean, we've had a few, there's been a few, well, I'd say maybe the last 3 years, it's been, the funding for this has been very lucrative.
Yeah.
But you also have to keep in mind that we're gonna be getting a new governor. And one of the things is our governor was big on this stuff. And we also had the pandemic, so a lot of things that came out of it were because we needed to build or repair bike paths and put water parks in places where there weren't before because people had to kind of, stay separated.
Mm.
So, it's been kind of steady, the same amount for the last few
Yeah,
years.
so there's been a building boom,
Right.
that's why
And
we have
that's-
so much
yeah.
funding.
So we do have to keep that in mind. But, and we also have to keep in mind that we don't know what we're gonna get with the next governor, but we did get this year was like the highest amount of money we got. And it was
Oh, the match, the
Oh,
state match, yeah.
correct, yes, yep.
So the coordinator position plus this has to come out of administration. Is there any other people that have to come out of that? Is that right?
No,
Oh, it's not.
it would only be that, it would only come out of that, and that's the only place it could come out of. But, and then that's, like if, I think on the website, it says it on there that that's what you could use those funds for. So that would be the only place that we could pull money from to do that. And, I think, there's an article somewhere on that website that does say that other towns do that
Yeah,
and have that.
there are paid positions in the
Mhm.
state.
Yeah. But also it depends on the size of the town and all that other stuff too, and how
Sure.
much money they get based on
Do they share them? Like the towns share?
Um,
position?
that. I don't know, which I could find out. I could ask, Stuart, the gentleman who runs.
I don't
the-
know if towns necessarily, if there's any regionalized ones that I saw, but there are towns that are very similar to what we do, where that position is not a full-time job, it's part of something else. Maybe it's part of the town planner's position or what have you. So
Okay,
it's
just,
a multi-role position within a town, yeah. There are some towns, I mean, the big towns out by Boston and stuff, Duxbury and some of those places, I think I've seen have full-time positions, but
Yeah.
they've got tens of millions of
Right,
dollars in their funds
right.
and hundreds of applications a year. I mean, that's a little
Right.
different than what we're dealing with.
And the
Although
thing,
Joe said he had a pocket full of them ready to come forward.
yeah. And the thing about the funding though is that we don't lose it. So it's not like it's like use it or lose it for the year.
Keeps
So it
going.
just keeps going. So
Yeah.
we can build, we're still gonna be building on it. And keeping in mind, if it doesn't work out, then we figure out a way where we would have to disband it as well. But I think, with the town, where it's at in growth and where we have with, a lot of things going on, I think we're probably gonna need it, because I would imagine that we're probably gonna get, applicants are probably gonna start coming in and,
I totally agree with all that. Just,
Mhm.
it looks like we roughly get $15,000 a year spent in that area, right? for
Yeah.
Administration. So between those two jobs, it can't go over it shouldn't go over $15,000. Would you agree?
Well, let's talk about that for a second. So really the position from conservation already has a budget that's not part of this. What these funds, this $15,000 is only paying for the portion of that position that is for CPC. So right now, conservation is listed as a 25-hour-a-week job. We'll probably be looking at 10 hours, maybe 7 hours a week for this job. I like the fact that Joe said he was hoping to maybe get it to a point where we can make it a benefit job. That would, I think, 37.5 hours for town employees is full-time to get benefits. I think it's like
30, yeah.
whatever it is, let's just hope we get there, right? So this would be the gap. So if this job is 10 hours, then out of these funds would only cover the cost of 10 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So we're only paying for the hours that the person does work. A better way or a way to explain it would be, we're only paying for the person that's doing our CPC work.
Right.
I get it.
So we're not paying for them when they do conservation work, basically.
Unless
Right.
they're the same thing.
Well, true. Well, and they could be.
Yeah.
At times.
Let's keep moving.
So we probably need to make a decision. We should probably have another meeting to discuss that, finalize it, correct? I would think.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, truly, is there time between now and
Honestly, no,
January 3rd?
no, but I mean, maybe after the meeting with the selectmen,
Oh, okay.
but,
I would say in the meantime, why don't we circulate what's there?
mhm,
And, yeah, I mean, we could certainly, get an email chain of, hey, what about this? What about that? Delete this, add that. I mean, I know it can get pretty confusing, but at least get it into everybody's hands so that they can provide input
sure,
before a final copy is put together.
mhm. And basically, this would be so that on January 3rd, when going in front of the selectmen, we have, the idea of what we want.
Job description,
All right. The other thing for old business is just, with getting we would have a new employee, we also need to consider, which we brought up at another meeting, is, our application process. Finalizing or putting together an application that we like as a committee, then also, setting specific dates for deadlines. When an application needs to be submitted, when the board reviews it, when we want the person to, or the applicant to come in, those kind of things, we should start setting deadlines. And reason being, and it's just because we've had to postpone, or we've had to have an applicant come in 3 or 4 times already on
Right.
one thing. So I think with the application more streamlined with deadlines, then we can be prepared and we can have everything ready for our town meetings, because that's what has to
Right.
happen. It has to go to our town meeting for a final vote, and get on the warrant articles. So that's something that we should start to think about with deadlines that are, specific dates.
Yeah, I mean, I think the ultimate deadline is when do they post the agenda for the town meeting, right? Everything's got to be done by then, probably a little bit in
yeah.
advance of that.
Yeah, definitely. But you're looking at, but you gotta think you're looking at probably starting an application, May of the year, or May or June of the year before, so that you can get out, if you have issues, the questions, application isn't properly done, you can get all that out of the way, and then it goes into the next meeting for that year, for May. So that's something that, yeah, go ahead.
One of the things that I feel badly for Ms. Delasco is she came to us, she had her application, she had a lot of the information. We asked her a bunch of questions. She came back to us. The historical commission hadn't been contacted. And for, I think a common person, there are nuances that aren't in the rule book, if you will. Does that make sense, what I just said? There are nuances that really kind of aren't in the rule book. Yeah, and should she have gone to the historical commission? Probably. But is it in the rule book that she should have? I don't know that to be true. So I'd like to see, and I agree with you, Jeannie, I'd like to see it very streamlined so that I guess I want to apply the KISS principle, keep it simple, stupid. You know, if you need to do this and this and this and this, then do this and this and this and this, and then come see us.
Yes, and that is supposed to be what is supposed to happen. However, unfortunately, it didn't. And I think it was just given, there was a lot of scenarios that took place in order for it not to have gone so smoothly. And I think right now, this has kind of been a learning curve for all of us, I think.
Oh,
So,
big time, big time.
yeah. And I have to say, that's why I suggested with the timelines. And, you know, and you go on that website, I'll send everybody the website. There are other towns that have posted their applications, and you can review sample applications and see where there's deadlines and things like that. So that's, you know, as a committee, that would be something that's where we put those deadlines in, or, you know, your checklist has to be in first. You send the checklist in, the committee reviews it. That way we're not having the applicant come into a meeting time and time again, and we're saying, oh, it's not done yet. Oh, we got to do this, we got to do that.
Right.
And that way we can meet as a committee, we can review the application, we can review, make sure the checklist is done, blah, blah, blah. And then we can contact the applicant in 2 months or after having 3 meetings and say, we want you in on this date, so that the applicant doesn't have to keep coming in. Unfortunately, we had that happen. So
So just from a historical perspective on the board, right? So I'm
Mhm.
looking at open space, historical resources, recreational lands, housing, right?
Mhm.
So there's people in the town that are responsible for those particular, the historical commission. When these applications come in, do they get circulated amongst those groups? Just so, not that the board would necessarily be saying, hey, we need your input on this, but so that they know something may be touching their purview? Is that ever been done? And is it something we might think of?
I think the notion is that because you have a representative from each of those boards on the CPC,
Oh, okay.
that your representative should be going back to your committee and saying, hey, somebody put in an application for a, 18 apartment condo building on such and such. And then all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, okay. And then maybe that person who represents the committee can show the application or bring the details to the committee and go from there. And I think that was why those particular folks are representing or brought on to the CPC, was so that there is supposed to be input from that particular representative.
Thank you.
Sure. So again, it's still old business, but I think I had sent an application that was kind of similar to what we were, I talked to Chris, kind of where he had been thinking about when he was on the board. And I think it's a decent application. I just think as a committee, we could kind of like brainstorm when dates would be, and maybe, again, kind of take this out, put this in, same as the requirements for the admin person. Another thing that we want to start kicking around and finalizing. Okay. Any other old business? Do we have, so on to new business, do we have any new applicants or applications? No, okay. I didn't think there was any. I know Joe did say there was some stuff coming down like in regards to Wally Park, there was one, or they're working on one. And there was another
Nothing's been
one.
submitted yet.
No, and, oh, the road, yeah. Okay. And then, winter meeting schedule, I think perhaps we should discuss having a meeting after the January 3rd meeting with the selectmen, so that we can kind of come together and figure out what we're gonna do then.
So I know we normally don't meet till the third Wednesday, but we want to bump that up a little bit, it sounds like.
I think even though there's a meeting that's gonna be had, it may take a couple of, probably a week or so for something to come out of it. I don't know if we typically don't walk out of the select board meetings with a decision made.
So the third Wednesday is January 19th. Do you want to wait that long or?
Okay.
I mean, from what I kind of got out of what Joe Didi was saying, it sounds like he wanted, we were hoping things would go sooner than that. But, so you're saying
Well,
you're not gonna have an answer?
I mean, what's gonna
no
happen
matter
is
what?
they're either gonna thumbs up it or thumbs down it, probably after that meeting, and then it's gotta get posted.
So that
So-
was, what's the rule, 2 weeks or 1 week?
Of a job,
Of a meeting. Oh, any
it's
meeting.
only like
Oh,
3 days.
Oh, that's it.
3 days.
48 hours
3
or
days,
something.
48 to 72 hours.
I think the 19th would be good. That'll give the select board, 2 meetings after the 3rd. To formulate something and pass it.
So next meeting, January 19th?
I like it. But are we gonna do it, the hybrid version like this today?
I think
Yeah,
there's some folks who wanted it.
I would, yeah, I think we leave the option open for either one.
What time?
And, yeah, time.
I like 7 o'clock.
You do like
Just from
7?
Getting where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
7?
So everyone's-
Okay, 7 PM. And it will be posted where the option is for either. And with that being said, if the town hall closes because of weather, we could still have it Zoom as long as it's posted that way.
Right.
So we could still have our meeting.
Right.
And
Okay.
we can go, we can do that.
To be flexible.
Sure,
I'll be on Zoom that day.
I know, because I know you're guilty.
Florida.
Okay, so
No
next
pictures
meeting,
of the water
January
and
19th.
sunshine in your background now.
Oh,
Yeah,
I always do. I
he
do
does
it
that.
on the line.
7 PM, January 19th, all right. Anything else?
From like a new business standpoint, I
Mhm.
know we received from a conservation standpoint, I think most boards did, but I'll just bring it up in case. There's open meeting law training that came out. Did you guys get that?
I do that.
I'm aware of it, but no one has like said, hey, you need to make sure your board does this or anything, so.
Yeah, well, I think with all that's happened in the town in the last couple of weeks, they want to make sure that once
Mhm.
that's.
So that would probably come from Michelle? Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I can forward it
She
on
was,
to you. I know I got it and I forwarded it on to the conservation board,
Yeah.
but I also saw that there was a bunch of other boards that were included in the email,
Mhm.
so.
I definitely did not.
If you didn't get it,
There's a form you have to sign, correct?
There's a form and like a webinar you gotta attend.
Right,
yeah,
okay.
there was that, and the other one we just did was social media.
Yeah,
Did you get that?
Yeah, that's
That was a while
another
back,
one.
right? Maybe a couple months ago.
Yeah, how long ago? Social media was just. Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't get that one.
yeah, that was most recently, right? So the open meeting was before that?
no, open meeting was this week it came out.
All right. Yeah, none of us did then, so we'll look into both. In the social media one, you have to sign off on too, correct?
We just send those right to Lisa in the select board's office. You
Okay.
did?
All right,
They're not asking, I'm not saying put work on people, but I'm just I think it's
It's out there.
out there. If you're having public meetings, you're probably gonna expect it.
Yeah. I would want,
Don't wanna get caught up on the technical.
absolutely. Great way to say it. Okay, so anyone want to entertain a motion?
To adjourn?
Yeah.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Alrighty, thank you. John, Molly, second it. All in favor of adjourning the meeting?
Hi.
Aye.